And moving on to the latest coming in from the National Capital, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and US Intelligence Chief Tulsi Gabbard are currently meeting, and the meeting is underway at South Bloc. Now, this is a key meeting that's underway as part of Tulsi Gabbard's visit to India. Both the Defence Minister and the American National Intelligence Chief in South Bloc to discuss issues of mutual interest for two sides, as has been stated by Defence Ministry officials as well. Now, do remember there are a couple of meetings that have taken place in the run-up to this interaction between the two. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held a meeting with Tulsi Gabbard in the national capital yesterday. Yesterday in the morning is when she also arrived in Delhi. But as per sources, we're learning a little bit about the meeting that took place between Tulsi Gabbard and the NSA in the national capital Sunday evening. Detailed discussions on several facets of the India-US relationship. I want to go across to Akash, who joins us with more details as we're putting out the snippet of the interaction that's currently underway between Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and the US Intelligence Chief. Akash, what's really on the agenda? This comes before her address, at the Raisina dialogue. So it really indeed is an action-packed two-day visit of the US Intelligence Chief.
Exactly, and in fact, this visit is very important given the fact that this is the very first visit of such a, high-level, officer or someone who has, some sort of say in the intelligence, because she is the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, and we know that how she, met with NSA yesterday, and today she is meeting Rajnath Singh. Indo-Pacific is clearly the agenda, because we have seen in the past that how both India and United States have been working, to address several sort of issues in the Indo-Pacific, and both the nations advocate the free and fair Indo-Pacific, where you are allowed to move anywhere, and there is no sort of aggression that is somewhere witnessed in other international waters. So this time around, this meeting is underway, and we have in fact got this photo out of the meeting where you can see Rakshamantri Rajnath Singh and also DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Also, it is very important given the fact that she is, on her multi-nation trip to the Indo-Pacific regions, and India, is the resident power as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned. We know that our Indian Ocean region is very important, given the fact that we have several sort of nations that are trying to expand their reach and dominance in the area. This meeting is very important, and Indo-Pacific, security of Indo-Pacific and also intelligence sharing, it's something that both the leaders are expected to discuss in this meeting.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, a visit follows a Prime Minister's visit to the United States, Akash. There was a brief interaction between the Prime Minister and Tulsi Gabbard back then, and she, in fact, even responded on social media to talk about what really her experience was like. Spoke of how this is a forward-looking story if we look at the broader equation that India and the United States share. So it started off on a good note, but what else are we to expect through the course of these interactions, these one-on-ones that are taking place? Yesterday it was NSA Ajit Doval, and today the Raksha Mantri.
In fact, I remember she expressed her gratitude for the opportunity to welcome Modi and, the kind of commitment that is required to strengthen the relation between these two nations. But as far as this visit is concerned, so intelligence sharing that was discussed yesterday, we know that how several sort of other issues, for example, the neighboring countries of India, the kind of things that are happening, specifically in the countries like, Bangladesh, Pakistan and Myanmar. All these things were discussed, and, whenever we talk about these sort of visits, Christine, so we know that how, these trips and these meetings have, agenda that can impact not just that particular country or the host country, but several other countries. So this time around, intelligence sharing is, one thing that, is very much on the agenda. Free and fair Indo-Pacific is what, the officials have been mentioning. As far as this particular visit is concerned, very important visit given the fact that, the Trump administration is in news for several reasons, since the time the U.S. president has assumed the charge. So this visit is very important.
Absolutely. And do we also have details, Akash, on when exactly is Tulsi Gabbard going to be speaking? The official website, of course, of Raisina Dialogue says she'll participate in a keynote conversation tomorrow. But the Prime Minister is going to be inaugurating the Raisina Dialogue today itself, where the New Zealand Prime Minister, interestingly, is also the chief guest.
Yes, tomorrow is, what we have been, in fact, told that, she'll be speaking and, in fact, addressing the gathering. But, we are still waiting for the official, schedule as far as this particular meeting is concerned. Also, Crispin, we are learning that in some time from now, this meeting is going to be concluded. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and Tulsi Gabbard, as of now, are meeting, a bilateral meeting that will somewhere address the kind of issues we have in the Indo-Pacific region, specifically in the Indian Ocean region, given the fact that China is trying to dominate the area. The agenda is very clear. India and US have always advocated free and fair Indo-Pacific. We know that how freedom of navigation is something that the democracies across the globe, advocate as far as international waters are concerned. And we know that how, nations like China are trying to dominate the region, are trying to dominate the area. In fact, China is looking for the permanent presence in the region. So, in fact, in some time from now, we are going to get some sort of details as to what was discussed and what was the outline of this particular meeting. But definitely, this is an important visit, important meeting where Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and DNI Tulsi Gabbard, are meeting currently.
Okay, all right. And these are some of the live visuals that we're keeping up with. So very interesting of how the meeting that took place yesterday is now leading up to these visuals of the interaction that Tulsi Gabbard is holding with Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. And like we've been discussing, the overall significance of this meeting, something that we must talk about. This is Tulsi Gabbard's second trip abroad since becoming the Director of National Intelligence. Her first international trip was to Germany last month, where she attended the Munich security conference as well. And Akash, what's the most significant, as far as these discussions are concerned, and why this is so very important in understanding where the two nations take these ties forward, is that this is a first such visit from a top official of the Donald Trump administration to India.
Right. So, Crispin, you see, we'll have to understand that when it is about intelligence sharing or, when it is about security aspects, so we know that how United States, and India have been working. In fact, I remember during, 2021, clash, there were reports that the United States then, somewhere shared the intelligence inputs with India. However, there was no confirmation from the authorities here in India, but there have been several sort of reports that how US has time and again, in the last few years has helped India, and India, is also sharing, inputs. So we know that how, IFC IOR, that is our naval agency, based in Gurgaon, is very much coordinating with countries like United States, in terms of intelligence sharing, in terms of input sharing, as far as international waters are concerned. So there is a set mechanism, but as far as, these things are concerned, so this is a continuous process. And, this process has got, its nuances. We have been given to understand that when these leaders meet, they somewhere decide the sort of practices that can be opted, for the smooth functioning of this sort of mechanism. We know that how, in our neighborhood, in fact, in our immediate neighborhood, a number of things are happening. In fact, in Bangladesh, we know that how things have happened in the past. In Pakistan, we know that how things have been happening. We know about the Indian Ocean region. In fact, in Sri Lanka, we know that how things have happened in the past. In fact, there have been, reports of several sort of, activities happening in the Indian Ocean region. We know that how things have been happening in the Red Sea, Arabian Sea. Indian Navy, is very much working, in fact, addressing those issues that are concerning the national security of the country. But even then, we know that, a sort of mechanism is required, a sort of cooperation is required between several countries. And this is the reason why this particular visit is important, especially at a time when, these two leaders are meeting, at a time when we have, this first visit from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. This is important. And also, in some time from now, we are expecting that we'll get some sort of briefing out of this particular meeting where we'll get an idea as to what was the outline. But definitely, as far as the meeting that happened yesterday, we have been told that several sort of issues were discussed. In fact, the intelligence sharing was very much on the agenda. And today, when this meeting is happening, we are expecting that some sort of broad outline will be shared in the public domain as to what was discussed. US and India, have been working, have been cooperating in terms of defense intelligence sharing, and in fact, we know that how India, in fact, is interested in a sort of in a number of defense equipments that are there in United States. We know that how we have been waiting for the engines that are required for LCM Mark 1 Alpha, LCM Mark 1, in fact, the fifth generation fighter program of India, that is MCA. So a number of things, are there as far as these countries and the relation between India and United States is concerned. So definitely we are expecting that these issues, these things, and in fact the bilateral issues will be discussed between, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and Tulsi Gabbard in this particular meeting that is currently underway.
Okay, so these are visuals of Tulsi Gabbard currently interacting with Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh. Akash has been telling us about yesterday's meeting with NSA Ajit Doval, and unexpected lines when top intelligence officials across the country sit on the table. One is bound to discuss cooperation in counter-terrorism, cybersecurity, emerging global threats. So all of that perhaps was discussed in yesterday's meeting. As we keep up with these visuals, I want to go across to Akanksha Swaroop as well. Akanksha, this has also taken us back to her brief interaction with Prime Minister a month ago when he was in the United States of America. And that, interestingly, came after the 2014 incident where the Prime Minister interacted with her. Back then, of course, she was member of the US Congress, and she gifted the Prime Minister a personal copy of Bhagavad Gita to express her love for India. So she has maintained a cordial relationship with some of top politicians in India as well. So unexpected lines that all of that will be taken forward going by these meetings.
Right, Prithvi, it's not just cordial lines. In fact, both of them share very, political ideologies which are very much in common. Remember, this is somebody who was a congressman from the Democrats who switched over to the Republican side and has been very, very tough and hawkish when it comes to the issue of terrorism, especially Islamic terrorism. And she's made it amply clear that there should be no space for any terror, and that India and the United States will be jointly working in terms of their strategic cooperation to address the issue of terrorism. She's also echoed what the US President Donald Trump's own sort of policy is towards terrorism. So when you look at the US intelligence chief being in the country, you can certainly expect the Quad to be among the top highlights. India's own contribution, along with the United States, even Japan and Australia, to the security and strategic concerns of the Indo-Pacific remains on top of the agenda. But like I said, as we speak, we've seen the kind of attack that's been conducted on the Houthi rebels by the United States, as Akash was also highlighting, that the U.S. continues to address these security concerns, not just in the Indo-Pacific, but the Red Sea, but the Black Sea. We've seen the kind of disruptions that have been caused to the shipping routes because of the ongoing wars. And having said that, soon after her arrival in India, Tulsi Gabbard also joined intelligence and security officials, and that included from 20 countries, that was at a conclave, which, remember, was being hosted by India's National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval. And, this is going to be one very, very crucial, significant visit where, as you've also highlighted, she's just going to be now in a meeting with India's Raksha Mantri, Shri Rajnath Singh. So security remains very much on top of the agenda. We've already seen how our defense procurements are also going up with the United States. So as far as strategic cooperation is concerned, India and the United States has certainly grown from strength to strength. And this is one relationship which is a very, it's the kind of bond or the cement between Washington and New Delhi, and whatever the roadblocks may be through the trade tariffs, but it is Tulsi Gabbard and her leanings towards India. Not to forget that she's a following Hindu, even though she's not an Indian, but she very much practices Hinduism, as you rightly highlighted, was, of course, underscored by the gift that she brought for Prime Minister Modi, and that was the Bhagavad Gita. So her leanings towards Hinduism, her message for peace, and a very hawkish stance towards terrorism is perhaps going to also shape up how India and the United States will now be fighting this war, especially when it comes to addressing the issue of terrorism. Remember, at the same time, India is also very staunchly pursuing not just Islamic terrorism. You're looking at extradition of certain terrorists. We're also, at the same time, pursuing the United States to take a very firm stance against the issue of Khalistan terrorism. So let's hope, let's expect that this is a beginning of a more strengthened strategic cooperation.
Many thanks, Akanksha, for putting out all of those details. And